Hi there, and welcome to Celeb Tea. Tom Girardi, once celebrated as a powerhouse attorney and husband of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erika Jayne, has now been sentenced to 7 years in prison. His conviction centers on a scheme of fraud that saw him stealing millions from vulnerable clients, including grieving families of victims from the 2018 Lion Air crash. Along with his prison term, Girardi has been ordered to repay more than $2 million in restitution to those whose lives he shattered. This fall from grace is staggering. At one time, Girardi's name echoed in courtrooms across California as a defender of the powerless. He was heralded as a champion of justice, a fearless lawyer willing to take on massive corporations that most people believed were untouchable. His work alongside Erin Brockovich in the famed case against Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, catapulted him to national fame, cementing his reputation as a people's lawyer. That case, immortalized by Hollywood in the Oscar-winning film Erin Brockovich, made him a household name and a symbol of hope for ordinary citizens battling corporate giants. For decades, Girardi basked in his image as the courtroom giant who could bring billion-dollar companies to their knees. He dressed impeccably in tailored suits, drove luxury cars, and moved in elite Los Angeles social circles. Judges, politicians, and celebrities alike welcomed him with open arms. His law firm, Girardi Keese, became one of the most respected in the state, drawing in clients who believed he was their best shot at justice. But beneath the polished exterior lay a much darker truth. The very trust that elevated Girardi to legendary status was what allowed him to manipulate those who depended on him most. He constructed a facade so convincing that it shielded his wrongdoing for years. The higher his reputation climbed, the fewer people dared to question his integrity. The making of a legend. Girardi's passion for law began in childhood. He once shared how, as a sixth grader, he watched Perry Mason every Saturday evening, mesmerized by the idea of becoming a lawyer. That dream followed him throughout his youth and into his career. He credited his mother with giving him his earliest lessons about justice and morality, shaping his belief in advocacy for others. In the world of high-stakes litigation, Girardi stood out as larger than life. He built his career on cases others thought impossible to win, representing everyday people against powerful corporations. The PG&E case in the 1990s transformed him into a superstar. Residents of Hinckley, California, whose groundwater had been poisoned, won a massive settlement thanks to Girardi and his team. Newspapers hailed him as a legend in law, and television talk shows eagerly invited him on as the man who proved that even billion-dollar corporations could be defeated. That victory became both his crowning achievement and the foundation of his celebrity status. Girardi embraced the role, thriving under the spotlight. He carefully curated his public image as a fearless advocate while enjoying the lavish perks of success. His Los Angeles mansion, his wealth, and his influence became symbols of his dominance in both law and society. Cracks in the facade. Yet behind the applause and accolades, Girardi's empire began showing troubling cracks. At first, the problem seemed small, barely whispers in the wind. A client complained about waiting too long for a settlement check. A vendor voiced frustration over unpaid invoices. A contractor claimed his work went uncompensated. Individually, these incidents seemed insignificant, particularly when weighed against Girardi's towering reputation. Many dismissed them, reasoning that a lawyer who had forced PG&E into a massive payout surely wouldn't be mishandling his clients' cases. But the complaints didn't stop. In fact, they multiplied. Investigative reporters began uncovering troubling accounts of clients waiting months or even years for money they were legally owed. Court records revealed mounting unpaid debts. Behind the scenes, accountants at his firm raised alarms about suspicious transfers and financial discrepancies that couldn't easily be explained. At the heart of any law firm are the client trust accounts, which, by rule, must remain untouchable until funds are properly dispersed. But at Girardi Keese, those accounts became dangerously mismanaged. Instead of promptly releasing settlements to clients, Girardi stalled. When desperate clients called for updates, they were told to just wait a little longer. The truth was far more sinister. The money wasn't coming because Girardi had already siphoned it away. Funds meant to rebuild shattered lives were being diverted to keep his firm afloat, to pay off personal debts, and to sustain his extravagant lifestyle. A web of lies. Rather than confront the financial chaos, Girardi doubled down. He began juggling settlements from one case to cover shortfalls in another, creating a financial shell game that deceived clients and colleagues alike. His lies stacked higher and higher, masking the crumbling foundation of his once mighty empire. The consequences of his deceit were devastating. Clients who had already endured unspeakable tragedy, accidents, medical malpractice, even plane crashes, were left betrayed and financially ruined. Their trust in the legal system was shattered, not only because of their loss, but also because the man they had relied on to protect them turned out to be the one who exploited them. As the truth came to light, the collapse of Girardi's world accelerated. His law firm was forced into bankruptcy, with creditors scrambling to recover what they could. His once grand office was stripped bare, its contents auctioned off to settle debts. Among the items, a framed receipt from PG&E's $236 million payout in the Hinckley case, sports memorabilia, and even a Los Angeles Lakers championship ring. Each artifact symbolized the heights he once reached and the depths to which he had fallen. But perhaps the most painful revelation came in 2018, when Girardi was accused of stealing settlement funds from victims of the Lion Air crash in Indonesia. Families who had already endured unimaginable grief found themselves further victimized by the very lawyer who had promised to fight for them. As investigators dug deeper, the scale of Tom Girardi's deception became undeniable. What had once been brushed off as minor irregularities was revealed to be a systematic pattern of fraud stretching over years. The lawsuits piled up. Federal prosecutors brought charges, and his professional peers could no longer shield him. Eventually, Girardi was disbarred, stripped of the legal license that had defined his entire identity. For a man who once dreamed of being like Perry Mason, the reality was crushing. He was now remembered as the lawyer who betrayed his own clients. The human toll of greed. What made Girardi's actions particularly heinous was not just the theft itself, but the human cost behind it. Many of his clients came to him at the lowest moments of their lives, families devastated by wrongful deaths, survivors of catastrophic accidents, and victims of corporate negligence. These people placed their trust in him to deliver justice and financial stability, only to find themselves re-victimized. For example, the relatives of those who died in the Lion Air crash believed Girardi was fighting tirelessly on their behalf. Instead, while they grieved, he siphoned off the settlement funds meant to ease their suffering. For other clients, settlement checks that could have covered medical expenses or rebuilt broken lives never arrived. To them, Girardi wasn't just a fraudster, he was the thief who stole their chance at healing. The betrayal went beyond money. It eroded faith in the justice system itself. When a lawyer, especially one as prominent as Girardi, abuses his position, it casts doubt on the entire profession. His actions left scars not only on the individuals he cheated, but also on the credibility of the courts he once served. Erika Jayne and the public spotlight. Adding to the sensationalism of Girardi's downfall was his marriage to Erika Jayne, one of the most flamboyant stars of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Their luxurious lifestyle, often showcased on television, became a focal point of public fascination. Viewers saw extravagant clothing, private jets, and multi-million-dollar mansions, funded, it turned out, by money that should have gone to his clients. When the scandal broke, Erika Jayne claimed ignorance of her husband's financial misconduct. Still, the connection between her lavish persona and his fraudulent schemes fueled headlines and lawsuits alike. Some alleged that she directly benefited from the stolen funds, while others viewed her as another casualty of Girardi's manipulations. Regardless, the reality show platform amplified the scandal, transforming it from a legal story into a cultural spectacle. A legacy in ruins. Girardi's sentencing at 86 years old marks a definitive end to his career and reputation. Once hailed as one of America's most influential trial attorneys, he will now be remembered as a disgraced criminal who betrayed the very people he vowed to defend. His story serves as a cautionary tale about unchecked ambition and the dangers of placing blind trust in powerful figures. The contrast between his early victories and his ultimate downfall could not be starker. He began as the lawyer who brought justice to the residents of Hinckley, California, but ended as the fraudster who stole from grieving families. The courtroom legend became a symbol of greed and corruption, his empire reduced to bankruptcy filings and auctioned memorabilia. The final judgment. Tom Girardi's 7-year sentence may not fully compensate for the pain he inflicted, but it is a symbolic closing chapter. The restitution he owes, over $2 million, is just a fraction of what was lost, yet it represents accountability that his victims had long been denied. For many, the sentencing brings at least a measure of justice, even if it cannot undo the damage done. His story resonates far beyond California courtrooms or Bravo television screens. It is a reminder that power, prestige, and reputation can conceal devastating corruption. Girardi's rise and fall demonstrate how a carefully crafted image can blind the public, the press, and even the legal community to the truth. In the end, Tom Girardi's legacy is not the victories he once claimed, nor the fame he enjoyed. It is the shame of having betrayed his clients, his profession, and the principles of justice he swore to uphold. His tale is not just one man's disgrace, but a sobering reflection on how greed, unchecked, can destroy lives and unravel even the most celebrated careers.